The hits keep coming in the economic boxing ring of the United States, with reports that agricultural sectors are struggling to deal with massive price increases and shortages in chemical fertilizers now. How is this tied to disgraceful, unconstitutional federal energy so-called regulations? Well, I think we can explore that. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Here is the story as WTHI-TV Indiana reports, quote, nitrogen fertilizer prices started increasing last fall, end quote. Oh, well, what, or more important, who could possibly be behind this new punch to the economy? WTHI offers a list that lets inquisitive and logical Americans follow the informational breadcrumbs. Quote, this is due to a number of factors: supply issues, reduction in production, and the price of natural gas rising. Wait, what? Hold on. Remember when Joe Biden and his White House press secretary Jen Psaki implied that money-grubbing, avaricious big meat suppliers were at fault for the higher prices of their products? Yeah, that made total sense, didn't it? Because as we all know, in a competitive marketplace, suppliers never compete to actually bring prices down, beat their competitors, and gain market share. They don't strive to be more productive and never cater to what the consumers want and never run the risk of losing customers if they raise prices beyond what consumers will accept. But wait a minute. What if it hasn't been those avaricious meat suppliers who've actually been at fault? What if they were victims? What if Biden, Psaki, and the others in government who deride these competing meat suppliers, what if they were the ones throwing the proverbial punches? Well, this news about fertilizers and natural gas actually allows us to play Sherlock Holmes, or perhaps to play 19th century economist Frederick Bastiat, who told us to look for what often goes unseen. Or we can play a more contemporary character. We can pretend to be radio host Paul Harvey, who often offered
the rest of the story.
And the rest of the story is that both the natural and man-made fertilizers integral to cattle, pork, and poultry production rely on natural gas for their supply or for their very creation. One of the most important fertilizers in the natural category is bentonite clay, a clay that, surprise, requires heat, often derived from the burning of natural gas, in order to make it usable. In the man-made category, natural gas is the key to many of the integral chemical components of fertilizers used to help produce the tons of feed needed for grazing animals and poultry. And from January 2021, when he took over the already command and control U.S. economy that many erroneously, embarrassingly still call a free market economy when it's not even close to it, Joe Biden has slammed natural gas production. As Abigail Tardif explained in December for Americans for Prosperity, quote, one of Biden's first actions after taking office was to halt new oil and gas leases on federal lands and waters, which, by the way, the federal government is not supposed to own. A move that results in higher energy costs for the most vulnerable consumers. The administration canceled the Keystone XL pipeline and suspended oil and gas leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, again, which it should not run, and New Mexico, despite opposition from the Navajo Nation. It also resurrected the Waters of the United States rule, which would increase barriers to energy projects. end quote. That Biden move resulted in 14 states taking legal action in March last year to fight for their autonomy. And it resulted in a court ruling that, for now, has stopped the White House clampdown. But business owners and corporate boards change their behavior when faced with the likelihood that political forces could hamper their efforts to increase competitiveness or to make their investment of time and resources absolutely nugatory. They delay those investments or they shift them into other areas. So, despite the court having done what it did, and despite the fact that as of November, Biden has so-called reopened oil and natural gas exploration in the Gulf of Mexico, energy executives remember the president's earlier move and his vociferous claims that he wants to shift U.S. energy use away from efficient oil, coal, and natural gas and into less efficient sources such as solar and wind. And this can retard the normal course of energy company investment and retard increasing supply. Add to that the errors and unconstitutional activities to which Biden was already an accomplice when he was vice president, and one realizes that it's good to have a long-term memory when it comes to this stuff, because looking at the long view allows a person to see the rest of the story. The rest lies in the fact that natural gas has increased since 2008 as a supplier for mostly government-run or regional government-granted monopoly utility electric power. And there is a lot to this. As James Taylor wrote for Forbes in 2018, quote, in 2008, coal powered more than twice as much American electricity as natural gas, 48% to 21%. By 2016, however, natural gas overtook coal as America's most prevalent power source. As MRC-TV has reported, throughout his presidency, Barack Obama threatened and attacked coal-based power plants, forcing on them harsh operational changes for what he, the chief fascist at the time in D.C., claimed was a, quote, climate change, end quote, emergency. Oh yes, he subsequently added to the threats and burdens in 2017, fueling, yeah, I'm using that pun intentionally, additional flight from coal and an increased demand for, you got it, natural gas. So, if the demand for natural gas is increasing, but the supply is not meeting the demand, what happens in the world of basic economics? Well, prices rise, both to burn the fuel needed to make bentonite and the actual gas needed to create chemical fertilizers themselves. Welcome to the world of economics, Mr. Biden and Ms. Psaki. One wonders if you too have ever encountered real economics, or if you have, whether you have the faintest conception that the only way to see prices for meat drop is to allow supply to meet demand. And that supply can't be met by forcing price controls on meat. It can't be met by commanding the energy industries. It can only be met by freedom, allowing market participants to reveal with their wallets and choices what they prefer, and allowing suppliers and potential suppliers to freely enter the market. By blocking coal plants and threatening to block exploration for more natural gas, you Bidenistas, have played a major role in the very meat price increases you claim to deplore. Oh, and there's the fact that you and your political pals in D.C. and the Federal Reserve have inflated the money supply so much that 80% of all the U.S. cash now in circulation was printed in the last 2 years. By the way, Joe and Jen, we will remember
the rest of the story.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button and share. We'll see you in the comments section. We'll see you on Rumble, where they don't censor us. Rumble, great website. And we'll see you at MRCTV.org. We'll see you in Facebook. Lots of interaction there at the MRC TV page. We'll see you on Twitter. We'll see you on TikTok and Instagram. I'm on Twitter at Gard Goldsmith and on Gab at Gardner Goldsmith. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.